Hi, welcome back to Knitting with Annie. I'm Annie Lupton of Boho Chic Fiber Co. And I had to skip last week's episode. Sorry if you were looking for a new one, but my kids were off of camp and it was kind of the last full week before they started school. And so we just were doing kid stuff and I didn't have the time and it was just a little too loud in my house to try to squeeze this in. So I'm glad to be back today with you though. And to everyone who was able to take advantage of my birthday sale last week, thank you so much. I appreciate it and I hope you were able to snag a pattern or two with that 30% off sale that was going on. And I am 34 now, so that's exciting. And yeah, we're just, my kids go back to school tomorrow, so I am eager to get back into my normal kind of daily routine with work and such. And last year, the way that our school did it with COVID was the kids were in person 4 days a week, and on Wednesdays they were home and then did remote learning. And there were also several times that they were different kids were home quarantining because someone in their class got the virus. And so this year they are going to be in school all 5 days, which is great. Our community is pretty highly vaccinated, I think certainly better than other places. So I'm anticipating the whole quarantine thing may be happening again with them home for a couple weeks at a time. But as for now, we're just kind of crossing our fingers, and they have a lot of good protocols in place with masking and spacing of kids and everything. So hopefully we will be doing well this year. So yeah, excited to dive back in. And I do have a few questions today that I'm gonna go through. First of all, I thought I should introduce the sweater that I'm wearing right now. This is my Rippling Sands sweater, and I'll stand up and show you a little bit more. The front of it, it's a drop shoulder. The front has these rippling stitches, and then I'll turn the back so you can see. And in the back, they kind of collide in the back center there. So it's a really fun one to knit because the front and the back are different, and you get to see just the change in the stitch pattern is really fun. This one uses Bavarian twisted stitches, which essentially they're just twisted stitches, but you are knitting them through the back loop, and that it gives a more pronounced knit stitch on this pearl background here. It makes the stitch twisted so they're tighter, and they're just the same. They're 1/1 cables. So it's easy to do. It's a little slower because that's like a lot of little tiny cables that you're doing, but I love the end result. It's such a great sweater, and I love it in white because I like wearing neutrals more than like bright colors, so it works great for me. So I'll include that pattern in the link below, and I guess I'm ready to start getting into your questions. I have a few here today. The first question was, somebody was wondering if I have a plan for how many projects and types of designs that I knit in a year and how I like sort that out. So basically what I do is I aim to do about three pattern releases a month. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4. Occasionally it's even like 5 when I have like a re-release come out from a magazine or something like that, and it's less work, I'm able to squeeze even more in. But I do aim for about 3 a month, and it usually ends up being like 3 sweaters or maybe 2 sweaters and a shawl. I do heavily focus on sweaters and tops, mostly because that's what I like to wear, and I find I'm just more inspired to put something into a sweater rather than a shawl or accessories, but I do definitely do accessories from time to time as well. And how a specific plan, I really don't have a plan. other than I try to get a certain amount in, and I basically just am always working. And so it just turns out that that's like how much I can churn out typically. If my kids are home a lot, last year with COVID, I definitely had months where I did less. It kind of just depends how much I can get done in a month. And I also I'm working a few months out from whatever's coming out now. So like this pattern here is coming out next week, and I actually finished it like 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and it takes 2 or 3 months for me to get a pattern from I finish it off my needles to then it's tech edited, and then I send it to my test knitters, and I usually like to give them a month or two depending on how big the sweater is and the complexity of it. And then I do the final edits into my the design template that I have for my patterns, and I get it all photographed and all of that. So it's it takes time to get something out. So anything that's coming out now, like I finished it like a few months ago typically. Yeah, so planning wise, I don't do much more than that. Sometimes if I have a collaboration that I'm working on with a yarn company or a magazine or something, then it will kind of shift around when I release my patterns. If you've ever test knit for me, you may know that I've pushed releases back, so sorry if that bugs you, but usually what happens is something else will come up and I might need to just rearrange my schedule a little bit. That's what I really like about working for myself. It's kind of like what I want to do, and I'm a very self-motivated person and I work really hard, and so it's never been a problem for me to get a lot of work done, because I'm kind of like, I just really enjoy what I do, and I am a hard worker, and so the motivation part is not hard for me at all. But I can see maybe some people would want to be accountable to somebody else, but I like working by myself for the most part and for myself, and having it be on my own schedule. So yeah, someday I would like to slow down a little. Right now, basically, I have kind of goals for myself for how much I hope to make in a month, and it's always different every month. It depends on the pattern and how many people like it of the new releases. I do sell old patterns, throughout the month as well, but typically for designers, our biggest income in a month comes from the new patterns, and so if I was able to release one a month and make the same amount that I make now, or, then that would be great. And I would probably slow down my workflow. But right now I really have to release like 3 or 4 to get the salary that I make right now. And again, that's all like self-imposed. It's just how much I want to be working. But yeah, someday I do hope, if pattern sales pick up, then I'll be able to kind of slow down and enjoy the roses a little more. But for now, that's what I'm doing. And yeah, like I said, I mostly like sweaters, and I mostly do that. So it's kind of just that. Sometimes a collaboration will have more restrictions with it. Like they will want a specific type of sweater, or they might want a specific silhouette or a size range or different things. So that definitely it's always a little bit restrictive creatively. Not always, but most of the time. So I limit that because I kind of thrive under being able to do my own thing, but sometimes I do those as well. Yeah, so it was kind of like a second part of that question was what they wanted to know, where I find my inspiration. And I think it was in terms of deciding what to design. So this could be anything. It changes with every design. Sometimes I'll be inspired by a stitch pattern that I see in one of my stitch pattern books in my library. Sometimes I may be inspired by a color motif. It could be in a book that I have, or I'll sometimes just browse Pinterest and different things to see just different color work kind of designs, and sometimes I'll pull those, or sometimes it'll just inspire me to think, oh, well, I like the way that chevron looks, but I'll tweak it and add this and that. Usually I don't I don't ever really copy anything. I don't think that that's cool to just like straight out copy something, but I am inspired by designs. You know, sometimes you'll see like tessellations and color work, like chevrons or different, I don't know where I'm going, different shapes and stuff where it's like a very simple, basic repeating pattern. And I think that that's, I'm comfortable with, like, I think it's okay to copy that sort of thing if it's just public domain. But yeah, sometimes I will be inspired by stuff that I see like out and about. If I'm shopping and maybe I see like a sweater or a shirt or some kind of textile that has an interesting texture to it, or some kind of pattern repeating that I find interesting, I kind of just pull it from wherever. I always have my phone with me and I'll snap pictures. Sometimes like you'll see something like the way that like a tile floor repeats, or a fence like with different curves and things. That'll be inspiration. It could truly be anything. Sometimes I start out a design, I just know that I want a silhouette a certain way, like I want a drop shoulder, I want texture on the body, and I want like stockinette sleeves, like, you know, and then I'll look at my books and I'll find something to match. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe that's it. But there's just basically, there's like a never ending supply of inspiration. So yeah, I hope that's a good answer for you. I do like looking at different textiles as well. Sometimes you'll see woven textiles that have repeating patterns, which can be cool. Sometimes you'll see a striping pattern somewhere, and like the way, it's not just like stripe 1, stripe 2, stripe 1, stripe 2, but it might be different color sequences. So that kind of stuff can definitely come into a design as well. So inspiration is everywhere, and I knit a variety of designs. I don't just do color work or texture. I really like to play around with most different kind of knitting styles out there, or a lot of them at least. So I don't really put myself into a box of like, I only knit this one thing. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. The next question that I had is just a true straight up question, and I don't know the answer to it, but I wanted to let you know what I thought of it, just so that if you're wondering, if someone else is wondering this too. Someone asked if Ravelry has a way to identify if a pattern is tech edited. I think that they were thinking that it's really nice to have tech edited patterns. I don't know if you've ever knit a pattern that wasn't tech edited or was just like very poorly written and it was very frustrating to knit. Totally relatable. I've been there myself. But I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe that they do, because as a designer, when I'm filling out all the specs for my patterns, I can go through and check off all the boxes of things that apply for that pattern. And I've never noticed a box for tech edited. If somebody knows, if there is a way to do that, like, then I've just been doing it wrong this whole time. And if somebody knows, please leave a comment below and I will fix all my patterns, and I will definitely let you know if somebody else knows the answer to that. But I don't think so is my answer. You could definitely contact Ravelry directly and maybe request that they do that if they don't have that. And I kind of feel like maybe people would just lie and check that it was tech edited, if you know. So I don't know if it's worth them setting that up or not. So yeah, I guess you kind of just have to, you know, once you've knit a pattern or two by a designer, you get a feel for how their work is. So yeah, good luck. I hope that we find the answer to that, because that would definitely be helpful to know for me as well. And then the last question that I had is, I had shared recently, I'm not sure if it was on Instagram or if I maybe shared in one of my newsletters, a couple of books that I had been reading, and somebody wanted to know a little bit more about the books and my thought process behind them. So I tend to, when I'm reading something, I will read on a topic, and I often will read like several books on the topic. like at a time and get like really into a subject. So like when I went vegan, I read like a ton of books on animal rights and veganism and nutrition and stuff like that. For a while, I was like really into that. There was a time when I read like a bunch of books and things on like the plastics crisis and why we have way too much plastic and how bad it is for the earth and the environment and everything. And I read several books on that. There's definitely been other topics that I've gotten like really into, but just seeing if my dog's getting into trouble again. Yeah, so I tend to do that kind of. So these are the books that I recently shared, and then I'll like chat about each of them with you. So I was reading about like wardrobes and how to like curate your wardrobe to work for you. And all these books are like a little bit different, so I'll go into them. But the first one was Curated Closet, and then Project 333, and then the Curated Closet. And there's so many more books on wardrobes. These are just the ones that I read recently. If you have other books in this category that you'd love to share, leave a comment below as well. So I guess, well, first maybe I should mention why I was reading about this. I am the kind of person who really likes to like get rid of stuff. Like after my kids were not babies anymore, I was glad to get rid of all the baby stuff. You know, I saved a few outfits and stuff, but I like to like purge things. It just kind of psychologically feels good to me. That Marie Coney book, The Art of Tidying Up, or The Joy of Tidying Up, whatever that one was, that was really popular. I loved that book. I kind of tend to be a minimalist with stuff, not with like yard amounts, but just with our home. Like we don't like to have just tons of stuff everywhere and clutter. Clutter kind of stresses me out. It doesn't stress my husband out, but he likes when things aren't crazy too. So yeah, so I frequently will go through like my wardrobe, and probably maybe like once a year or so, not that frequently, but I'll go through, and if there's old stuff that I just truly don't wear anymore, I get rid of it. I'll donate it or sell it if it was like nice quality. If it's stuff that I haven't worn, or if it's like just too worn out, like collars stretched and worn, and I just haven't been wearing it, I'll go and like get rid of stuff. And that just feels like so good to me and therapeutic, and it's almost like cleansing. I find it hard to describe, but I think that's the reason people write books on like minimalism and stuff, because it's a way to like feel less anxious, is to have less around. So kind of coming from that, I was looking to, and my husband actually fixed my closet. We redid the inside of it, and it looks a little bit nicer. And so I was like, well, this is a good chance to really go through my clothes. So I did a big purge, and I was just, I was reading a blog or Instagram or something, and someone kind of was chatting about these things. And so I just kind of looked up a couple books on it. So the first one was The Curated Closet. And this one was probably my least favorite of the three, just because I already feel like I knew a lot of the information in it. It wasn't new to me, but it really goes through like just the overabundance of stuff in our culture. And so it goes through like the impact of too much stuff, in regards to clothing in particular, on like our environment. The amount of clothes that are thrown out and are in landfills and just add to the carbon emissions is just like ridiculous. So, and a lot of it is like fast fashion, really cheap stuff that people buy, and they wear it a couple times and throw it out. It also goes into like the working conditions for people who work in fast fashion. A lot of the chains, like overseas and stuff, how poor the working conditions are. So it's very much about sustainable fashion and ethical trade, and how it impacts the environment and stuff like that. So I feel like I knew a lot of this information before, like I said, so it wasn't super exciting to me. But if that's a totally new topic for you, this would be a really great book to dive into if you're just interested in that part of it. The second book is called Project 333, and I forget, let's see, Courtney Carver is the author of this one. She, I believe, has a blog called Project 333, or it's something about something similar to this, and Instagram, it's like a big thing. And so you may have heard of this one already. This one is really mostly about like a capsule, like creating a capsule wardrobe. And if you're not familiar with that, a capsule wardrobe is when you choose a set number of items and you wear it for like a set amount of time. And it's usually like a small amount. Like her whole thing is, it's like 33 pieces, I think. I read the book, but I think it's, I think it's like 33 pieces for like 3 months or something. And so, and there are lots of different capsule wardrobe things out there if that's something that's interesting to you. Her whole idea is like the stress part of it. Like, it's just easier to have a certain amount of clothes, and I go in my closet and I know that everything works with everything else, and I can wear that for a set amount of time. And it's like you wake up in the morning and you're not stressed out. You just have something to wear. You don't have to worry about your clothes. It's like having a uniform almost. And I think that's interesting. I don't think I'm ready to do like a true capsule wardrobe. I don't know that I even want to. Like, maybe someday I'll do it as a challenge to myself, and I think it would be pretty cool to do it. But I have more pieces than that than I want to keep, and I don't feel like I need to like purge that much stuff to be like less stressed or happy with my wardrobe. So yeah, so maybe that would work for you if you're into capsule wardrobes. There's like so many other books out there too. There's several. I didn't read more on it because, like I said, I just don't know that I care to do that. I like to, yeah, I don't know. I would think it would be hard for me to like just wear the same things. But I do, the thing that they say in the book, you do like probably wear like 10% or 20%, whatever it is, like a very small portion of your actual wardrobe do you actually wear often. So that's definitely true for me as well. But the reason I wanted to like read on this topic is I think that, you know, what I wanted is a wardrobe where it's more limited than what it was, which was like getting out. I mean, compared to other people, it may not be a lot, but for me, it felt like a lot. But just, I wanted every piece to be something that I really do wear and that I really enjoy wearing, and it's comfortable and I really like it as a piece. And the other thing this last book kind of, I'll go into this one first. So this one is the Curated Closet. And this was my favorite one. And I'm actually reading another book of hers right now on like body image. But this book was my favorite because she is less about having a certain number of items in your closet or a certain number of like pants or shirts. And like, it's less specific. It's more of that idea of like, keep what you love and what works for you for however you determine that, you know. And what the other thing she says is like thinking of items that mix and match very well, so that, you know, you might have like, a lot of people have like one shirt, like some crazy shirt, and they like it, but they literally can only wear it with one pair of pants that they have, or like one skirt. It doesn't go with anything else, and it just like clashes with the rest of your wardrobe. And I definitely had a lot of pieces like that from like years ago that I liked, but I just didn't wear because I felt like I didn't have like the right height skirt or the right, it just didn't go with the rest of my wardrobe. And so going forward, that's something that I'm really trying to be like really conscious about, like only purchasing things that can truly go with the wardrobe that I have, that mix and match well, or layer with something that I have, or, you know, I mean, if it was like a dress that doesn't match anything, that's fine because it's a standalone piece. But if it's something that would go with any other item of clothing, I'm really trying to be intentional about making sure that it kind of matches what I have. And the thing that she says that I like is like, if you have certain colors, like that's fine. You don't have to feel like you have to wear every color. If you really like I really like mustard yellow and like dark teals are like my favorites. And she's like, it's okay. If you have certain colors that like you feel like you look good in and you like, go with it. Like it's okay if you have like just a few colors in your wardrobe. That actually allows it to mix and match a lot better. So I really, really liked this book. I may read it again. There's a workbook that goes with it, and I haven't worked through it yet because I kind of just kept notes on my own, and then I saw the workbook and ordered it. But I definitely recommend this book. She kind of goes through step by step how to think about your wardrobe and plan for what you might want. And the other thing is, I kind of went through a phase where I was like buying a lot of clothes, and out of like stress and anxiety, I think it was like a kind of like a coping mechanism, like, oh, like really stressed out, and buying something like felt good, I guess. And it wasn't like a ridiculous amount, but it was enough that I noticed it. And that's something that I don't want to do in the future either. I want to be more intentional about the purchases that I make. And if I need something, great. Or if I truly just want something, a piece that's going to go in with my wardrobe well and mix and match, like great. But just less of the impulse shopping and like that kind of scarcity mindset of like just wanting more, just to have more. I just don't like that. So yeah, so I definitely recommend all three books, especially this one I just personally really enjoyed. Let me just look here in my notes, see if I missed anything. Yeah, so the other thing I was gonna say is kind of going off of like this first book. Lately, I've been just wanting to be more conscious. I mean, I guess for a while now, but ever since I learned about the garment industry, I mean, I know there's like a documentary on it. I think it's called like The Cost of Fashion, The Cost of Fast Fashion, something like that, where they really go into the human rights aspects of it. I really try to buy things that are more sustainably sourced and made and more ethical. I used to buy like just all fast fashion stuff, and I get like it was all I could afford at the time. So I get it. I would never like want to shame somebody for their choices and what they buy. But I am trying to be more intentional about buying from companies that are fair trade and support their workers well, and use fabrics that are more sustainable for the environment, and also all that kind of stuff. And so I try to do that more often than not. With my kids, they definitely still get they get a lot of hand-me-downs, but if we do buy stuff, it's pretty much like fast fashion kind of stuff, because they just tear through it so quickly that I find it hard to like spend a ton of money on like a kid's item when it's gonna get ruined. At least by my kids, they just like go crazy with their stuff. Yeah, so I like to support companies, you know, that are more ethically and sustainably minded. Someone was asking where the jumpsuits were in the last episode or one before, where I kind of styled stuff and showed you. Most of my jumpsuits are from Conscious Clothing. They're a company out of Michigan. I learned about them when I lived in Michigan a few years ago, and they have a lot of linen styles, and I really like their jumpsuits, and I have some other stuff from them. Not Perfect Linen is another great one. They have an Etsy shop online, and there's a few other like smaller sustainable brands that I've bought from out there. So yeah, but I like linen. I feel like it mixes and matches well, and solids, I feel like I always match well. I like prints too, but I'm not as brave as some other people who will like mix and match prints. That sometimes feels like a little too wild for me. But yeah, so I hope that was answered your questions about these books, and I will link all these books below as well. And I'll also link the one that I mentioned. I'm reading one on like beauty standards, which has been pretty good as well. So yeah, so I think that's all that I had for today. I did just want to mention this sweater over here that and the hat as well are going to be coming out next week on September 7th. And it's another twisted stitch design. I'm like really into those lately. This one is going to be called Chevy Folk, and the hat is the Chevy Folk cap, I believe is what I named that one. And so I will share more about those next week. Yeah, I hope to see you back then. I hope to not miss any more or less weeks of these vlogs as well. Now that my kids are back in school, I should hopefully be able to get back on track with this and all my other work. And I hope to see you over on Instagram. You can always follow me there and sign up for my email newsletter as well. I'm going to link all those things down below, as I always do, as well as the form for questions, or you could just leave me a question below or send it on Instagram. I try to grab them from all different places. So yeah, so thank you for checking in this week, and I hope to see you back again next week. Bye.